So I'm on the phone to my mum and I'm saying, all right, yeah, like we'll come down now. And that's when the bomb went off. And you could see like basically chaos happening and people screaming. In that moment, I realized like what it means to put somebody else's life above your own. I was at the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester where the terrorist attack happened, and so it was on the 22nd of May 2017 at the Manchester Arena. It was an Ariana Grande concert. 22 people passed away, with, a lot of them children. Hundreds of people were injured. The ways in which this event, mentally and physically scarred so many people, it's just like, it was catastrophic. It really was. I think a lot of people, especially before this, felt as though terrorism was something that doesn't really happen here in the UK, or, if it did happen, it would happen in London, never in somewhere like Manchester. And this kind of drew attention to the fact that, this can happen anywhere. There is nowhere that's off limits for this. I mean, I remember when I was there, directly in front of us was a child that was no more than 3 years old, easily, with her father. And, he was like, picking her up throughout the entire show. She had little cat ears on because at the time Ariana Grande was known for a Nickelodeon character that she played called Cat. And that is something that I, struggle to get out of my head as well, because what happened to them? Like, there's so many people that I started to remember after the fact, and remember their faces, and remember the little conversations that they were having about, and remember the parts of the concert that they were cheering for and the songs that they most enjoyed. And it just makes me so sad that something as awful as that had to happen in such a beautiful environment. And again, I think that's why it struck the hearts of so many people all around the world, and still does today. I just turned 18, and I basically convinced my little sister that she really wanted to go to an Ariana Grande concert when we all knew I wanted to go. So I told my mum, like, oh, it'll be such a good birthday present for her. I'm there, like, in my free period getting the tickets. So my mum had trusted me to take just her, so it was only me and my little sister. We arrived there, my mum and my stepdad dropped us off. Where we were supposed to meet my parents was the exit where the bomb went off. So my parents' plan was, as soon as the concert finishes, we'll be there, we'll pick you up, we'll go to the car park and we'll drive home. For whatever reason, my stepdad and my mum got into a silly argument over, like, my stepdad being on his phone whilst they were at dinner or something. She, in her classic, dramatic ways, stormed off to the car, and then called me saying, by the way, we're not going to be there, so just come straight to the car park. This is when the concert had just finished. So I'm on the phone to my mum and I'm saying, all right, yeah, like we'll come down now. And that's when the bomb went off, whilst I was on the phone with her. From where we were, say the arena's like a horseshoe, the bomb went off like at this end and we were at the other end. So we saw people running through like the tunnels, and you could see like basically chaos happening and people screaming directly from where we were. And that's when everybody, their faces just completely switched. I like picked her up, we were like jumping over different like rows of chairs. There were people pushing people out the way. Like the next day when I looked, I had like a footprint mark on my back. Like there was such hysteria that I didn't even know what was going on. It was all over the place, to be honest with you. So my sister would have been 11, 10, and I'm not a parent, but in that moment I realized like what it means to put somebody else's life above your own. Running through the fire escapes, at one point I ended up letting go of her hand because there were so many people pushing through us, and that was like a full 5 seconds of just, oh my god, what is happening? She's so small, like what is happening? Managed to grab her. We went like all the way around the arena. Like my thought process was, if they've set off something over here, they're wanting us to all go over here where people are going to attack us. That was like what popped into my head. So me, my little sister, and like a bunch of other people, instead of going to the fire exit that everybody else was going to, went a little bit around. We saw like, you know, people with blood all over them. I just covered my little sister's eyes because I was like, what the hell are we even looking at right now? Like, it was just crazy and horrific. So it wasn't until we managed to get to the car and my mum actually started having a go at me because all that she heard was me shout at my little sister on the phone, and then she was like, what are you two arguing over? Like, she had no idea that anything had happened. They didn't hear anything, they were in the car. At this point there was no police anywhere. It was literally, we were a part of the very first people to leave the arena, got straight to the car, got inside, and I was like, I don't know what's happened. I just remember so vividly that like my little sister just did not say a word. I mean, she's 10 years old at this point. She had no idea what was going on. We didn't even want to speak about the possibility of this being a terrorist attack in front of her because, you know, how damaging is that to somebody that's so young? We had no idea. So we're literally driving home, stuck in traffic, see like police everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Like, and you know, we're trying to get home, the radio's on, and like it took us probably like 2 or 3 hours to get home. Out like half an hour by half an hour, they're giving more and more updates. Like, you know, incident has happened at the Manchester Arena, potential terror threat at the Manchester Arena, definite terror attack, and like 2 people confirmed dead, 3 people confirmed dead, and we were just like, we just could not believe it. Like, and I was completely in a state of shock. At that time, my older sister lived in New Zealand, so she woke up to hear that there was an attack at an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, and at about 2 o'clock in the morning I was still awake, and she called me like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And in that moment I just burst into tears. I just like completely broke down. The immediate after effects of it was really difficult. I mean, I was about to go off to uni, and I would hear loud noises or see loud crowds or be in the middle of, you know, a commotion and completely freeze. And I couldn't understand how or why it was happening. Every single thing in me would just want to stop and be like, oh my God, just take a second. I want to say a couple of months after the arena attack, Ariana Grande put on, it was called the One Love Manchester concert. And when we were there, we were put in this part of the crowd at the front where everybody around you was people that were also at that arena attack. So it was the first time with a bunch of people since that incident that directly understood what I was going through. I've been fortunate enough to go to therapists about this over the years. I was able to understand that this incident was having, you know, direct impacts on my relationships with people, the way that I choose or choose not to go and do certain things, and then internalize that and work through it. Whereas a lot of people have not been fortunate enough to be able to speak to a therapist or you know, have those resources out there to gain an understanding as to why they feel the way that they do. Around that time, I ended up coming out as gay a couple of months after it, that same summer. And I do not think that I would have done that unless I was involved in this attack, because I truly had come to terms with the fact that, yeah, I feel like I probably am that inside, but like, you know, I've had girlfriends, who cares, like, we'll just leave that to the side and I'll just get on with my life. And having this incredibly rare and awful opportunity to look at your lives and all of the relationships that you've built with family, friends, even just like random people that you go to school with, and realize that you almost lost all of that in the blink of an eye, when, you know, you have all of these things about yourself that you would have maybe hoped that you would get to share later down the line or get to experience at some point in your life, and that was almost taken away from me, really made me open my eyes up to the fact that, you know, there is no time like the present to be exactly who you are. And when I came out and started to speak on specifically that and how being at the attack encouraged me to be a more open and confident person, that's when people started to, you know, reach out to me and say, wow, like hearing you say that as somebody who really went through something that was heard around the world, has completely changed my outlook on everything. I used to think, when I first started to hear about, the certain measures that the government take, a part of me was like, oh God, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Whereas now, the way that I see it is knowledge is power. Like, the more that we know our government are doing and the more that we learn that we can do as, the everyday citizens that are going to be the first person to spot something on the bus, for example, the better we can be equipped as a country to counter terrorism. I know how much of an impact this experience has had on me, and my sister was completely fine. I was completely fine. I didn't know anybody personally that was directly, hurt or passed away during this experience. I cannot imagine how it would feel to lose a child. That's literally a worst nightmare situation. Figan Murray, her son Martin, died during the Manchester Arena attack, and that's who's been pushing for the last 5 or 6 years. And that's why I think it's so great that Martin's Law is being passed to hopefully make sure that, we never have to go through something as awful as this again.